Hello everyone, it's Jennifer and thank you for joining me today. I was asked to play with some new Preciosa crystals for Bead Landing, now available at Michael's stores. Michael's will have the most outstanding collection of Preciosa crystal beads in their stores and also available online. The best-selling colors are going to be included, and there are 168 strands. Wow. 168 strands on a new wall of crystal strands in the stores and online. So I am going to put together a bracelet, and I'm bringing in some of my own stash. But what do I have that I got from Michael's? Everything I got from Michael's. The first thing that I want to point out is I'm going to be using some of these 11OC beads from John Bead, available at Michael. Everything I have here is available at Michael's. And this is in the true gold. Now I'm going to be using this as some spacer beads in between some other beads here. So I like using these as little spacers, little fillers. We're also going to be using this gorgeous 6O seed bead mix, also John Bead and available at Michael's. I have a little bit out here too. And the ones that we're going to be using is I'm actually going to be using, I think, just these here that are gold lined. They have a little bit of gold lining. I think I'm going to just pick those out. We're also going to be using some bead caps. I have some little bead caps that I got in a mix, and these are John Bead, and I got these from Michael's, and they come in a variety of colors. So we have gold in 3 different sizes, we have shiny silver in one of the larger sizes, and then so on. I'm going to be using these here, and there's just a ton of them in this pack. Now, the star of the show. We are going to be using some of the new Preciosa Bead Landing. These are 8mm check crystal beads. And this is in Siam and has that AB gorgeous finish. And these are 8mm. So we're going to be using some of those, not sure how many. We're also going to be using Bead Landing Preciosa. These are also Preciosas, and it's check crystal beads. And this is the light Colorado topaz, also with that gorgeous AB finish. Now, for my findings, I am going to be using either the 8mm or the 6mm. These are gold-plated jump rings, also from Michael's, as well as some wire guardians for the end. Then also I'm going to bring in a lobster clasp, and these lobster clasps also are John Bead and came from Michael's. Okay, so I'm going to be using some beading wire, and this is a 7-strand beading wire from Bead Landing, and also I'm going to be using some crimp beads. I try to always use crimp tubes, but today I want to try some crimp beads. Okay, so the first thing that I know I want to do is I want to have this taper in to the design, or I want to taper into the design by adding a couple of these 11OC beads. Then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add one of these crystals. They are beautiful and stunning. Let's go ahead and add 2 more. So we're going to start a little bit of a pattern. So we're going to add 2 more of these. Then what I want to do is I want to add one of those beads there. Let's add a bead cap, a crystal, another one of these little gold lined, and then we're going to add 2 more of these little seed beads. They are absolutely gorgeous. I can get them on there. There we go. All right, so there is what our pattern's going to be. Super pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one of them because I thought I was going to add 2. And then we'll go ahead and add one of these little check glass rounds. Those are, I don't know if I mentioned they're 4mm. Supers. I mean, they are gorgeous. Okay. And so, isn't that pretty? That is just so pretty. Oh, look what I didn't do. I didn't add my bead cap. I didn't add my bead cap to this side. Make sure that you're only grabbing one, and then make sure you're going through the center. All right, so now let's go ahead and add those. Let's go back and add my 2 and my crystal and my 2. That's why you look at things too. And then right before I crimp the second side over, I'll always look at the pattern too. Isn't that gorgeous? I hope it's coming across. So pretty. Okay, so I am just going to continue on. And so I'm gonna go ahead and grab out one of these. And again, use my bead cap and my crystal and my bead cap. And make sure you get in the middle. It's like right here, I don't think I'm in the middle. So I need to make sure I'm in the middle. There we go. And then grab another one of these. And then let's go with 2 seed beads. 2 seed beads and a crystal. And I'm working from the spool. And I have a tendency to work from the spool because I like to minimize waste. And so I will work from the spool. And when I get to the end, I'll crimp off one side, and then I will cut off just a short piece to assure that I can get a good finish on the second side. Okay, did I get that down the middle? Yes. And then, I mean, this little seed bead collection is stunning. Absolutely stunning. I think my favorite color is this kind of it's a goldish, yellowish, mustardish color. And I love it. Okay, so let's continue on. I just love having this pop of red with the gold and this brown. Just absolutely stunning. So pretty in person. And we might have to pour some, oops, again, here we go. If you're in the video going, no, 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 you've got to put your other seed bead on. Actually, I totally. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our crystal. And then we're going to add 2 more. I am so excited about these new crystal strands landing over at, oops, there's 2 on there, landing over at Michael's. I don't live too far from our Michael's here in town, and it is just a quick little run down the road. I mean, really, it takes less than a minute to get there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a couple of 11-0 seed beads. And let's go ahead and grab a crystal. We'll see how many we need to make. I want to have the bracelet, before finishing it off, I wanted to measure about 5 3/4, maybe 5.5, maybe 5.5 inches, just because then after adding the lobster clasp, I wanted to, oops, yes, that's right. I want it to be about 6.5 inches. And I want to be able to add a, did I get it down the middle? Yep. I want to be able to add maybe a little bit of an extender on it. Okay. I love these bead caps. They're so simple and super cute. All right, let's go this way. I am really loving how this is turning out. These beads are absolutely stunning. Let's grab 2 more. Okay, and I think this is the last one. I'm gonna have to pour some more out. And then let's go ahead and get our bead cap. Make sure there's only one. And get our crystal. I'll have to grab some more bead caps. Nope, that didn't go down the center. Let's have it go down the center. There we go. And I will grab some more of these so that I can snag some more of those gorgeous beads. Let's go ahead and put these away. I think I had a little 11-0 in there. Okay, don't forget to put your cap back on. Make sure to get that on there. Okay, so go ahead and grab that seed bead. Grab 2 11-0s. Grab a crystal. Let's go ahead and get that through there. Grab 2 more. Okay, grab another one of these. It's easy to pick these out because of that inner lining. Let's go ahead and grab some more of those. We'll see how many we're gonna need. All right, go ahead and pass that through the center. I love this because, I mean, I know we're in summer, it's August, but I'm ready for the fall. And I feel like this is a great little fall project. I will put links in the description to everything that I'm using today. And we'll make sure to get everything in there for you. Okay, let's see here. There we go. Okay, so now that I have those, let me see how long this is. Now, oops, I thought I had 2. Did I get 2? Yes, I did get 2. And when determining the length of your bracelet, you can't simply just go, oh, you know what? This is actually probably about 6 3/4 inches, because even though it's that long here, this is an 8-inch mat. Even though it is about maybe 6 3/4 inches here, with the bulky beads, once you put that around your wrist, that's not going to be exactly what it is. So what we do is we will measure it by going around. And I have a little bit of a measuring tool and I need to find it real quick. So I'll come right back. So what I did was I just brought that together just like so. Put that on my little measuring tool and it comes up at 5 3/4. So I guess that's okay. All right, so we're at 5 3/4. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get this put away. Aren't those beautiful? This isn't the last. This isn't the last that you're gonna see of me using this mix. This is a beautiful, beautiful mix. And I have some more of the reds, so I could possibly put together a modified necklace using those too. All right, so let's get these guys put away. I didn't use that many, so it's probably way up at the top. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those away. And then our little bead caps. And then what we'll do is we'll grab a lobster clasp. And I'm gonna use, so there's 2 sizes. So in these mixes, there's 2 different sizes. So you have a larger and a smaller. So we're gonna go ahead and use the smaller one. And then let's go ahead and get out our wire guardians. And why do we use these wire guards? Because it does protect, it protects your beading wire. It protects your beading wire when it's rubbing up against these metal components. So we're gonna go ahead and grab 2 of these. We're also gonna grab some standard crimping tools. We're also going to be using a pair of, oh my goodness, spit it out, chain nose pliers. And then we're also going to be using some bent chain nose pliers, and that's just so that I can open and close up the jump rings. And then we're gonna be using just some cutters so that I can cut the beading wire. Okay, so again, I'm still working from the spool. So the first thing I'm gonna do, oh, and then we have some standard crimpers. So the first thing I'm gonna do is grab my crimp bead and thread that on. Then I'm gonna go ahead, and the wire guards have 2, they almost look like crimp tubes, but they have 2 little slots that you slip your beading wire through, and then like a little canal, little grooved area up at the top. And so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pass that back through to this side. And again, this is just to protect your wire, okay? And then we'll pass back through the crimp tube, or crimp bead. I'm not using a crimp tube, I'm using a crimp bead. And you don't want your wires to cross, because what's gonna happen is when you crimp down on your crimp bead, you're going to separate. So the crimping tool has 2 different wells. There's one that makes kind of like a U or a crescent moon, and then the other side, which is the top groove, rounds it off. And I'm actually gonna use that top groove to just squeeze in my wire guard a little bit. So now that I have a little bit of extra bracelet room, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to insert my crimp bead into that little back crevice area, making sure that my 2 wires are crossed. And that's exactly what that first part did. That first part separates the 2. Then that top well will just kind of round things off and finish it off. And there you go. And I would pull on this just to test it, to make sure that there's no, that it doesn't slip, and it's not slipping. Okay, and then I'll just trim off that end. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and bring down my bracelet, and I don't need a very long tail, but I do need enough to work with, okay? Then also too, what I want to do is I want to make sure that my bracelet can move. I don't want to have extra wire. I don't want spaces. So I don't want it to look like this, right? So I want it to be tight, but then I don't want it to not be able to move. So the way I do mine is I will just kind of bend my bracelet a little bit. And then I know that if I crimp off right there, my bracelet's gonna move. Now, if I were to do this, you can see that there's a little bit of room in between a couple of the beads. And that's fine, that's not how you wear it. You don't wear it like this, you wear it like this, right? Then what I wanna do is, another thing is I am making, this is symmetric. So it's a symmetrical design, so it's going to be the same all the way across, and it has all the pattern. So I also take the time now to go ahead and make sure that my pattern is the same all the way around. And I just give it another quick look over, because this is the time that I can actually undo it if I need to undo it. All right, so everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and grab my crimp bead. So I grab my crimp bead. I'm going to grab my wire guardian or wire guard, pass the beading wire through the one side. Make sure that my beading wire is going in the little well. Once I bring this down, I pass it through the other side. Then I go ahead and pass this little tail back through the crimp bead, okay? And if you are not comfortable with working with a smaller tail like that, you can, by all means, you can make your tail a little bit longer. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that my wires are not crossing, but I also want to bring those two ends of my wire guard closer together, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and come in with that crimper tool. And the reason why I use the crimper tool rather than using chain nose pliers is because it is rounded in there, and I don't want to distort the shape. Okay, so I just want to make sure that everything is all even and make sure that I have good ample space. Then I want to also make sure that my crimping pliers is not going to go over one of my seed beads, because it will break. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a squeeze, and I've got my separation, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish it off by turning it on its side and crimping that closed. I'm going to give it the tug test, and I'm pulling pretty hard and it's not moving. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my cutters and just trim that off. Okay, so when you look at that, this is all the waist that I had just right here. Not very much, maybe 1.5 inches of waist. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use some of the 6mm. And if you have a closed jump ring rather than the open jump rings, these are very strong, so I feel very good about using the open jump ring as my closure. You can also use, if you have some chain, you can use some paper clip chain, you can use anything. And what you'd want to do is you would want to, if you want, you can secure it before you add your second crimp. I guess I have to open this first before you pass it back through so that you can attach it directly onto that wire guardian. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this up. And you can hear it lock in place. I heard it lock in place. And what I do is I'm only moving it this way. I'm not opening the jump ring out. I'm going front to back. And then what I do, and I'll show you over here too, is when I open it up, when I close it, kind of go a little over and then bring it back together to close it off. Okay. So here we have this here. And when I close it, I go a little beyond, and then I just bring it back and just kind of wiggle it into place. And you really can't even tell where the slit is. And there we have it. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love those colors. Again, I'm using some of the new Preciosa Bead Landing beads available at your Michaels stores as well as online. So please give this video a huge thumbs up if you like it. Comment. I love to see what everybody has to say, and subscribe. And until next time, have a good one.